Welcome to Step 51, Building Multiple Income Streams. So when it comes to finance, there seems to be this thing about the number 7. For example, the rule of 7 is around cognition and the fact that you need to hear something 7 times in order to really commit it to memory. Then there's the rule of 72, which is a simple way to determine how long an investment will take to double given a fixed annual rate of interest. We also have the often repeated statistic that the average millionaire has 7 streams of income. And finally, and the topic of this step, is that there are 7 possible streams of income. So let's go into each of them. The first type of income, or income stream, is called earned income, and this is typically from a job. You might also think of this as active income. This is the money, this is the income you get for trading your time to a job. Whether you're a contractor, whether you're part-time, whether you're full-time, it really doesn't matter because at the end of the day, you have to show up and work a certain amount of hours per day. And at the end of the shift, at the end of the week, or at the end of the month, you get a check that represents the contributions you put in for your time and the payment that you get as a result. Now, of course, none of this should be shocking or news to you, as most people are familiar with this income stream and they live it every day. But here's the thing with this income stream and why it's so dangerous to be dependent on it. For most people, this is the only income stream they have. Sure, it's lucrative, it pays the bills, hopefully, but what happens if you get laid off or you have an injury or you're seasonal or there's downsizing or whatever happens? At the end of the day, job security is not what it used to be. And unless you're a very specialized person working in a very specialized role, what people often find, unfortunately, is that they're very replaceable. And soon in the future, we'll see that that doesn't just come in the form of a younger employee, a better educated employee, a foreign employee, an overseas employee. We'll see it in the form of machine automation, software automation. The so-called Moravec's paradox explains how white-collar jobs that require a high level of intelligence will actually be the first ones automated by AI. But regardless, the point here is to show that if you are dependent on your job as your single source of income, the only income stream you have, you are setting yourself up for future hardship. And really, even if you like your job, what happens if you get a new manager or something about your job changes, and suddenly you are tied to a job that you just don't like anymore? Well, if you're dependent on it and the field that you work in is rather narrow, it can be hard to seek a new job or make a job transition. So people often feel married to jobs that they don't like. And this doesn't even begin to bring into the equation dependents and spouses and people who are dependent on you to continue to bring in income. A lot of people can't look for a new job because they have so many people depending on them and the illusion of stability that that brings. So without driving this point too much, hopefully it makes sense to you that while a job is good to have, don't get me wrong, relying on it as your single source of income, trading time for money, often leads to dissatisfaction and is actually one of the primary reasons people seek financial independence. They don't want to be married to their job anymore. They want to free up time without having to worry about money. So let's talk about the other 6 possible income streams there are out there. The second income stream is made from selling products or services and is generally referred to as profit. It's part of a business activity and it really boils down to buying something at one price and selling it at a higher price. You know, there's some examples out there of people going to garage sales or going to Craigslist and finding something that they know is of a certain price, buying it and then flipping it on eBay or Amazon or wherever. Or you could go as advanced as to build up a drop shipping company where you order something from Alibaba, send it to Amazon FBA so that they handle all of the inventory and the shipping. And because you're buying in bulk, you're able to buy something at $3 or $5 and sell it on Amazon for $19.99. And because all you need to do is worry about the branding and the advertising and the initial investment to acquire some of the inventory, this is a much better and lightweight business model than actually managing the inventory and the shipping and the branding and the marketing yourself. Although it's more lucrative to control everything from the manufacturing to the marketing to the sales, what you're really looking for is opportunities of margin. If you were to operate a grocery store, that often operates at a margin of about 1%, meaning that if they sell $100 worth of groceries, because the margin is so thin, they're only making about $1 back in profit. So this is another area where I don't want to talk your ear off, but hopefully you can start to see that with the power of digital marketing and internet advertising, we're able to unlock opportunities for better margin gains in controlling profit than we were in the past. It is much easier to be a digital entrepreneur today than even 5 years ago, and that trend will continue. Moving along, the next income stream that we can talk about is interest and the income you can get from it. We can think of interest coming from things like banks and bank accounts, where you're lending your money to a bank, they're paying you back for the privilege of holding and lending out your money. Or we can look at something like a bond. As we covered earlier, you want to make sure that your income from interest is outpacing inflation, because otherwise you're at a deficit for your purchasing power. Or essentially, by keeping your money in a bank, even if you're not spending it, you are still losing money. So the fourth income stream is capital gains. This is money you receive as a result of selling something that you acquired at a lower price than what you're selling it for. Capital gains comes into effect when we're talking about securities and essentially anything you would be trading on the stock market. And there's many other aspects that come into consideration. But I want to make sure you don't feel as though you can't get into this, that stocks and other investments are limited to only the rich, and that you'll never have a chance of making money. It's quite the opposite, and that's why we've devoted an entire section of this course, Part 8, to investing and some of the intricacies that go along with it. So similar to capital gains, the fifth income stream is dividend income. This is income from stocks if a company whose shares you own make a profit that they can pay out. So what's great here is that not only are you making money because your stocks, your investments are appreciating, the value of the stock is going up relative to where you bought it, but you're also getting paid by the company to do so as a stockholder. So if you feel like you would rather receive money for things you've made, well, that's the sixth income stream, otherwise known as royalties. This is money you receive from products you've made or from franchises or your brand. So, for example, if you write a song or you write a book, the royalties you receive on the sales of that song or that book go directly to your pocket, hopefully with as little going to the publisher or the recording company as possible. So finally, the seventh stream of income is from rental income. This is the money you collect by renting out assets that you own, usually property. This is a big piece of the core thesis of Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and the difference between assets and liabilities, where an asset is something like real estate that you can own or rent out, and a liability is something like a car that depreciates over time and is ultimately a liability to your bottom line. Quite simply, assets make you money, liabilities lose you money. So there you go. Those are the 7 streams of income. And like I said, the average millionaire has 7 of them. They might have 7 properties that give them rental income. They might have several businesses that are generating profit. There isn't a one-size-fits-all solution, but the thing to impress upon you is that millionaires and those with wealth generally aren't getting there by getting some sort of big promotion or big raise or anything like that. It does help, but what they're more often doing is generating ways to have their money make them money. Because as Warren Buffett said, if you don't find a way to make money while you sleep, you will work until you die. And that's also compounded on the fact that 90% of the world's millionaires made their wealth or made some part of their wealth through real estate. And it's not as hard as it seems. Once you're able to start getting yourself more financially stable, think about how beneficial it would be, to have a mortgage on a house. Let's say that mortgage is $2,000. And let's say that's exactly what you charge someone to rent out the house. Well, then you have someone paying you for the privilege to live in your house. And as a result, they are paying off the mortgage for the house that you will eventually own. Of course, it's not as simple as that in most cases. But with a little work, little dedication, you can have someone else building up your equity, giving you more control over an asset that will appreciate over time. And this is just one example of how to bolster your income streams. So that's what we're going to spend the rest of this section of the course talking about, the 7 income streams. To that end, for the Ready Set plan of this step, get out your notepad and write down the 7 different income streams, because we're going to go through each of them and start to help you think about ways you can bolster them or find ways to generate income through them.